Ladies and gentlemen, the Alabama Senate will now come to order. Our prayer today will be delivered by Senator Andrew Jones. Senator Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today that you've given us to come here before you, Lord. We thank you as we come off the Easter season, the Easter holiday, Lord. We thank you for your resurrection and what it means. We thank you for the hope that it provides to all of us, and we pray that you'll just help us to remember that hope today as we work on behalf of Alabamians, and as we work to further the business of the Senate, Lord. Pray a blessing on each and every one represented here today, all our guests and visitors, Lord, and all our members and their families. Pray that you be with us in all that we do, and make sure that all we do is toward the glory and honor of you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Senator Jones. Today, the pledge will be led by Senate pages O'Marion Liddell and Mahogany McCray. Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Allen, Mr. Barfoot, Mr. Beasley, Mr. Bell, Mr. Butler, Mr. Carnley, Mr. Chambliss, Mr. Chasteen, Ms. Coleman, Ms. Coleman-Madison, Mr. Elliott, Ms. Figures, Mr. Gavan, Mr. Gudger, Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Jones, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Livingston, Mr. Milson, Mr. Orr, Mr. Price, Mr. Reed, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Schofield, Mr. Sessions, Mr. Shellnut, Mr. Singleton, Mr. Smitherman, Mr. Stewart, Mr. Stutz, Mr. Wagner, Ms. Weaver, Mr. Williams,
Ladies and gentlemen, we have 25 senators present, which is a quorum. The Senate is ready to transact business.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we excuse absent senators.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. President,
Senator Wagner.
move that we dispense with the reading of the journal from the previous legislative day and that we adopt that journal.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Now move on to introduction of bill. Senator Jones.
Mr. President, move that we allow for the introduction of bills at any time throughout the day.
All right, any objections? All right, we have an objection. All right, real quick, I'd like to recognize some special guests in the gallery. Marshall County Youth Leadership, if y'all could please stand. The guest of Senator Schofield, also my home county, if y'all could please stand. Y'all in the gallery. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. Also like to recognize some other special guests, the Black Belt Leadership Academy, Circuit Judge Marvin Wiggins, Marion City Councilman Jocelyn Turner, the guest of Senator Stewart and Senator Singleton. If y'all could please stand. Welcome to the Alabama Senate.
Senate Bill number 203 by Senator Wagner relating to county, municipality, or government entities is referred to the Committee on County and Municipal Government.
Mr. President.
Senator Smitherman, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Well, you probably want to know what you probably don't want to know.
Got it.
You know, so I'll come around there and share it with you later on.
Look forward to hearing.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'd like to request the title be read.
All right, Secretary, read the title.
Senate Bill 203 to authorize any county, municipality, or governmental entity subject to a countywide civil service system to elect by a majority vote of the county and municipal governing body to opt out of the countywide civil service system, to require the county, municipality, or governmental entity to adopt a human resources policy and procedures manual, and to require the county, municipality, or governmental entity to notify the director of the countywide civil service system of its decision to withdraw from the system.
That's
Senate Bill 204 by Senator Gavan relating to permanent laws enacted during the 2021 special session is referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Mr. President,
Senator Singleton.
title read, please.
Secretary, read the title.
Senate Bill 204 to adopt and incorporate into the Code of Alabama 1975 those general and permanent laws of the state enacted during the 2021 first special session and the 2021 second special session, the 2022 first special session, and the 2022 regular session as contained in the 2022 cumulative supplements to certain volumes of the code and 2023 replacement volumes 13, 13A, and 13B, and to adopt and incorporate into the Code of Alabama 1975 the 2022 cumulative supplements to local law volumes, to make corrections in certain volumes of of the cumulative supplements and replacement volumes, to specify that this adoption and incorporation constitute a continuous, systematic codification of the entire Code of Alabama 1975, and that this act is a law that adopts a code, to declare that the code publisher has certified that it has discharged its duties regarding the replacement volumes, to expressly provide that this act does not affect any 2023 session statutes, and to specify that the duties of the Secretary of State regarding the custody of the cumulative supplements and replacement volumes.
All right, now move on to committee reports. Secretary, call the first committee.
From the Committee on Finance and Taxation, General Fund, Senate Bill 178 receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays. From the Committee on Finance and Taxation, General Fund, Senate Bill 184 receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays. From Finance and Taxation, General Fund, Senate Bill number 189 receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays. From Finance and Taxation, General Fund, Senate Bill number 192 receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays. From Finance and Taxation, General Fund, House Bill number 66 receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays.
These bills received a second reading to be placed on the calendar for the next legislative day. Secretary, call the next committee.
From the Committee on Confirmations, Senate Confirmation number 49, appointing Clarence Haynes to the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind, receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate confirm Clarence Haynes to the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and the Blind Board of Trustees, and I think my colleague has some comments.
Mr. President,
Senator Singleton.
I would like to start my hour.
Okay, you're recognized. Before you do that, can I recognize some special guests in the gallery that is your guest? All right, at this time, I'd like to recognize Hale and Perry County Youth Leadership. If y'all could please stand, the guest of Senator Singleton and Senator Stewart. Welcome to Alabama Senate. Yeah. Senator Singleton,
Thank you,
you are
Mr.
recognized
President.
to start your first hour.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is not a pure delay tactic. I just want you to know, and I want Mr. Haynes to understand that this is not about him as a person or his qualifications to serve on this board. I think that he is somebody that is definitely qualified and eligible to serve on this board for the Alabama Deaf and Blind, to be on that board of trustees. While I sit on confirmation, I read his resume, and he's certainly of that caliber of person. And so, Mr. Haynes, I understand you are in the audience, and I want you to know that this hour that I'm going to take is not about you. It's always about something else in the background. So I hope that Mr. Hayes did not take this personal, and I hope we're not wasting too much of your time if you got to get back home. But we're going to take this hour and talk today because there are some things that are going on we want the people of the state of Alabama to know about. And so this is not a delay tactic or a filibuster that I'm starting, which I'm capable of starting a filibuster and keeping it going for a while. But at the end of the day, we're going to talk about this process by which we're in. And Senator, I got 100 kids that's from my area that is in this audience that just stood up.
Great group.
So give me an opportunity to stand here and show them that the work that I do and benefits that they get from the work that I do here working for them, okay? And so we're going to talk for a while. This process by which we're doing would normally be called a filibuster, but I am not doing a filibuster today. And under the Senate rules, I talk to my people, I can stand here and talk an hour, on this confirmation and be within the confines of the rules of the Senate. We all work off of rules of the Senate by which has been set by this august body and that we govern ourselves accordingly to, that falls within the statutes and the Constitution of the state of Alabama that allows us to be able to come in here and do the work for the people of the state of Alabama within a legal format that it can then be later signed by the governor, codified into law, and then executed through either by administrative rule and or through the courts. And so today we are doing what we call confirmations. And on this confirmation, any person that sits on a board of trustees of a college, university, or if they sit on a board of an agency, or if they're going to sit on boards of other beauty and barber and all of those boards, they must be confirmed by the Alabama Senate. And so this is a process by which the Alabama Senate has vetted this person, Mr. Haynes. We've gone through his qualification. We've looked at his bio, and we deem that he is worthy to become a member of the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind Board of Trustees. Now, at this point in time, it does not have to be automatic, because I can stand here, I can put someone else's name in nomination over his name from the floor. Even though the committee has voted on Mr. Haynes, I have that right from the floor to make a nomination to put someone else in that position. Or we could talk to take Mr. Haynes out. But that is not the purpose of this, what we're doing today. And we're just trying to make this work. I see the money man walking up here. you about $13 billion strong, man. Anyway.
It's going every day.
But we're at 20 billion now? Oh, I'm gonna say we're at 20 billion on your budget? Yeah, $20 billion in the education budget. That's a lot of moolah to play with. And that's interesting, you know, we got $20 billion, and these kids that are sitting up here, most of them go to poor schools that haven't been built since the 40s or the 50s, schools that are leaking and raining on, and we got the $20 billion man right here. I want y'all to raise your hand and tell a $20 billion man we need a new school in Hale and Perry County. Look up there, Mr. Orr. We need new schools in Hale and Perry County, okay? I'm putting him on the spot. You know it's all about the water board or judge or something like that, you know what I mean? Anyway, gotcha. I wasn't on the floor when it happened, so. But I do understand that, you know, we're in this process by which we go through confirmation. And Mr. Livingston on the other side is the chairman of the confirmation committee. He's the man. Everything has to come through him. He gets to say whether or not you come up to his committee or not. He don't have to let your confirmation come up to even be voted on if he don't want to. That's the power of the chair. The chair has that power. He has absolute power. Just because the governor sends the names over, Mr. Livingston and the committee don't have to hear it if they don't want to. We can just let it die right there in committee. But he's not that kind of chairman yet. He brand new. He ain't that chairman yet.
Senator.
Yes, I would look for dialogue.
You may be confused who has the power here.
Well, I'm just telling people what the power you have in that committee.
Well, it's good time. It's a good teaching tool we can use today.
Yes, you know, you're the chairman, and if you don't put it on your agenda, it just doesn't come up.
That's right.
I don't know who the governor would have sent to you until you sent out the agenda as to who they're going to be dealing with on this day.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And so until then I, as a member, I can't act on these names. And so you're the chairman, so you're the one who sets that agenda. You set the tone, and all we do is come in, make a quorum, and we vote on it.
That's right. That's
And we
correct.
make that decision. So when we come out here, it seems that everybody would be on one accord. 90% of the times when bills come out of committees and we get here, people are usually on one accord. That's that 10% to where there's going to be a fight.
Little work to be done on sometimes.
Little work need to be done.
We make commitments in committee to bring them out here and work on them before we get to the floor and make some changes on the floor.
Exactly. And so, we're going to deal with that. Just like Mr. Haynes, I was telling these students today, I need one of them to replace me. I'm not going to be around here forever. So I'm glad that they're here to see the process and how the process works. And we've been the legislative branch and the power that the legislative branch has throughout the three branches of government, that we have the ability to tax and spend. No other agency has the right to tax and spend but us. Not the governor, not the judges, not the judicial branch, not the executive branch. Only the legislative branch can do that. So when you understand that, you can come here and you can be able to help your community because you know what your role is.
That's correct. That's exactly right.
You know what your role is. And so once you know what your role is and you understand the rules and how to apply it, then you can be able to help your communities out.
Well, that's what they send you down here for.
That's what they send me down here
That's
for.
exactly right. So,
I'm too poor to be quiet. I'm P.O. can't afford the other O.R. P.O. Too poor to be quiet. So I have to come up to this mic and talk on behalf of my people to make sure that they're getting what they want. And we're going to get that new school we just told Senator Orr about.
the prime time, they might want to release him down to his office. Yeah. He's had a crowd in there all week anyway, so.
Yes, we got plenty of money to do it, though.
That's when the fight normally starts, right? So we don't fight when there's not much money laying around, do we?
You know,
And I use that word, not fight, but.
no, but you're right. You call it a fight. It is.
Yeah.
Because now everybody busy. We can all think about how we can spend $2.7 billion. Yeah, but at the end of the day,
That's with a B, as the governor says, right?
that's the billion with the B.
B.
There's the one with the B. Right. And, you know, and it's steadily growing. And, you know, and I'm proud of what we do here in the state of Alabama, how we are good stewards over the people's tax dollars, how we have not gone into proration in the last 8 or 10 years, how we've not had to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. And when we did borrow from Peter to pay Paul, we'll pay Paul back.
We paid Paul back right around $1 billion. Right?
Exactly. We paid Peter back.
Paid Peter back, yeah.
Right. And so everybody got their money. And so now it's time for us to do something for the citizens. So we paid ourselves back. And we're whole again. So now it's time to go back in the coffer and do something for the citizens of the state of Alabama,
Well,
for our people.
It's been the bodies, the House and the Senate's good work that's put us in this position over the last several years.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And you know, but it takes two good bodies. I think we have one of the best leaders in the United States that's a pro tem of our Senate, the senator from Jasper, without calling his name.
Does a good job, doesn't he?
Does a wonderful job.
He keeps the train on the tracks.
If he can control and manage us, he's doing a good job.
He's doing a good job, and right.
That's right. If this group can be managed by somebody of 35 of us, he's doing an excellent job.
So,
And he's fair, and he's open. Even as a minority, he gives me my voice to allow me to be able to have a voice, to be able to speak, which is supposed to be.
exactly right. Everybody needs to be able to speak their piece.
Everybody be able to speak their piece. Because we could be Tennessee. But folks up there falling out, getting exposed and expelled out and being thrown out of the legislature, and then the city council got to send them back in. But we do a little bit better than what they do.
We got a fair and an honest leader for sure.
Yes,
I
it
think in both chambers we do. So.
Yes, it is. And so with that, we work together in harmony a lot. While some people may think that we have these big fights down here in Montgomery, that all they do is go down there and they fight. That's not the case here, at least in this Senate. We have our fights,
Yeah. We have our battles, yeah.
and we do what we do. But at the end of the day, I think when we walk away, we do what's best for the state of Alabama.
I think our budgets reflect that.
Budgets reflect
last
it.
couple of years,
And
and
a lot of our policy reflect that. Let's look at the Jobs Act.
yes,
What we're going to do, what's going to enhance these children's lives, their lives, the Job Act, the recruitment that we're doing, how we're bringing in multiple facets of job and diversifying our job skill set in the state of Alabama. You know, how we bringing in Innovate Alabama, they're dealing with small accelerators and making sure that these kids are able to do it. And I talked to them today because we're doing coding in my district.
Okay.
We're going to be doing Saturday coding, and I do a STEM camp.
yeah.
And as I said to those kids, to the young people in the audience, every one of these on this phone, there's an app. Somebody had to design that app.
That's right.
Why can't it be them?
That's exactly right.
Why they can't be the designer of the next new app that comes out?
You know,
But if we don't expose it to them, they'll never know. They will always just sit around and play with their phones and not understand the inabilities of how it works. So then, therefore, they can be able to be creators of this. I want creative minds, and that's what we got to do, is to help them be creative and be able to get into that inner self of who they are and be able to freely express it. Sometimes school doesn't allow them to do that because they're on a 9-week schedule.
and
They don't have the flexibility to be as creative as they want to be
Yeah, I
in
agree.
school. So that's why we're holding this outside of school so they can do something as creative as they want to do.
you know, Senator, Google is located in Jackson County. They have a couple of data centers up there they're operating. And before they came in, they wanted to be a good corporate citizen, come in, and they called and said, we'd like to do a coding camp
Okay?
in your area. Where would you like to go? I said, well, tell me what you're looking at. He said, we're looking for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders to do coding.
Right.
Oh, wow. So we set up one of the schools there that was local, and they came in. They brought, I think there were 12 people they brought from their company all across the United States. None of these folks knew each other before they got there, but they were all part of this team that comes together and does this camp. And it was amazing to watch these 2 and 3, 2nd, 3rd, 4th graders build these codes that they were doing. And they knew what they were heading, like talking about heading down the phone, these game apps and things. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was just quite incredible to see that activity taking place, because number one, I wouldn't have been able to code. I need a pen I need an eraser on the other end of my coding. So,
Well, you know, and that's interesting because I think that there's a huge need for that in the workforce. And as we build out our broadband in the state of Alabama, you're going to start to see a lot of that work being done here in the state. And it's not going to be in the brick and mortar building. They're going to be sitting at home in their pajamas, being able to code from their bedroom or their living room or the coffee table.
so many folks working from home nowadays.
Exactly.
Facilitate that with broadband coming online. You know, Senator Schofield's done a great job with broadband.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that. So,
I ain't want to give him no credit, you know.
well,
so, you know.
I'll give him a little credit.
Okay, well, he's a pretty good dude. But yeah, but the center that's taken on that piece and just kind of brought it to life. You know, the whole broadband piece is now not something we're thinking about. It's real.
It is real.
They're actually laying fiber right now as we speak in a lot of these counties across the state, and not just only in urban areas, but in some of the rural areas. Not only are they just laying fiber, but there's also the connection with the technology on wireless contacts, from contact to contact, you know, and so we're able to make sure that these kids who got left behind during the pandemic, this group of kids got left behind during the pandemic because they didn't have service at their homes.
And there were probably hundreds of thousands across the
Yes.
state that were in that impact
Exactly.
the same way.
Who's in that same boat? And we got to do better as lawmakers, as policymakers, to make sure that they have all the tools that they need to be able to do the job that we're asking them to do. We want to hold them accountable for a testing, a score, but then we don't give them everything they need. Then how can we hold them accountable if we're not giving them the tools to work with?
We've started providing those tools with broadband to the last mile and in the middle mile and things, these big projects going on across the state. I have to say that ADECA's done a great job of putting this together. Alabama's not always first in some things, but I think we're being modeled all over the country with the broadband projects.
This broadband piece is huge, and you're right. The FCC, looking at, we got one of the most comprehensive broadband maps in the nation in terms of where all of our fiber is, whether it's lit fiber or dark fiber. We know where it is in the ground, and we know who owns it, what it's being utilized for, whether it's being overutilized, underutilized. We understand that. So it helps us with the last mile and the middle mile because we know where the pops are to be able to make the connectivity. Even in the wireless concept, even in the wireless space, as long as there is a fiber that runs off a tower or somewhere, off a pole, we could take that and we could run it at least a quarter of a mile before you get an interference and have the kind of redundancy that we need to be able to run a gig up and a gig down and without it slowing down.
Oh, it's an amazing technology. It's some stuff that I don't totally understand, but learning about it an awful lot. So look forward to watching what ADEA does in the next few months. We've got some big BEAD money coming towards us, right?
Yep. And the money that we've invested in it thus far, and the money that we're about to put in under this new ARPA Act,
right?
And then plus there are other federal dollars that ADEA is now applying for, especially on digital equity side, that says that for those rural areas or those areas who have not had it, and where those areas who has had it for a while, we're able to put money in here based on need to try to draw y'all closer together, to make sure that there's equity in the digital space, and so that nobody can be left behind, no child will be left behind, and so we'll make sure that it hit every household. And even on the digital equity side, there are pieces in that bill that basically says that if you are a child and you're school age, and if you receive free and reduced lunch, your bill could be reduced down to $10 a month for broadband, especially during those months of school time.
So it gives them an opportunity to have interface with their classrooms, do their homework. They don't have to go sit in the McDonald's parking lot or their Crystal's parking lot.
Exactly.
Borrow somebody's wireless to do that. So.
And then and most of these kids down there ain't no McDonald's. These kids don't live where a McDonald's is. Most of them don't have a McDonald's in their town to go to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Our library, our public library served us a little bit. Thanks to this Alabama supercomputer who had gone out and made some connectivity into those areas to where some of the outside the library, they can still get a signal to do that. A lot of our little downtowns in those areas are not lit to this point. Because we still don't have the service that it takes to get in there. The highest speed that we may have is DSL, and that's where AT&T provides. So they were doing that over their voice, video, and data, that VOP program that they did back in the day. So if you come off their POP, you can be able to get, some semblance of something a little bit higher than dial-up. Because I remember back in the day, you sit there, see that little circle running on your computer forever before you can get something going.
I hear you. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, but now it's lightning speed.
And you turn it on and it comes on. You don't have to wait on it.
You don't have to wait on it anymore. But that's just how fast information travel, and that's how much these kids are being left behind every day that we don't give them what they need. They're being further left behind because information travels at the speed of light. They don't have to wait anymore to hear news. Everything is right now. Everything is in a ready microwave kind of society that we live in. Everybody right now is getting the news right now.
Instant news.
Instant news. We have to wait on CNN or ABC, NBC. Most of these kids probably don't know what ABC and NBC is because they watch Hulu, they watch, Spotify, they listen to music on other stuff. Those are other platforms and other content to where messages can go across that give them the kind of content that they need. Even the state of Alabama, with us building the middle mile, we can develop content through public television.
Absolutely.
That's why we got to continue to fund public television, because public television gives out great content for children in terms of, especially at the early childhood stages.
Early learning stage, right?
I remember Sesame Street, man, when I grew up. I grew up on Schoolhouse Rock, Sesame Street, conjunction, junction, whoosh, yo, function. I grew up on that. I'm just a bill. Oh, I'm only a bill sitting on a Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, hard journey to the capital city while I sit in line for the president's committee. Oh, I want to be a law someday. How I hope and pray. But today I am still just a bill. But this is a process.
It is a process.
That's what I had to grow up on. And we had one channel.
APT.
APT, baby. That was educational. Sesame Street, Big Bird taught me my ABCs, man. I learned conjunctions from our Cookie Monster at the garbage can. Kids don't get that kind of content anymore.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And we can provide that kind of content again. While we worried about whether or not our babies are reading at 3rd grade, then we need to be worried about what kind of content they're getting and how we provide that content. We have to worry about whether or not they're doing math at 3rd grade if we do it right. So just jumping from system to system, it does not solve the problem. Moving from public school to charter school to having the right to have your own choice, you're running from the problem. These kids don't have a choice. If one school in that system fail, they ain't got but one high school.
That's right. That's exactly.
If it's a failing school, they got to go to that failing school. So why don't we fix it for them versus trying to go to something different? They're the same kids. Their ability to learn is there. Whether you go to charter or whether you go to school choice, they're still the same kids. And they're very smart kids. Those kids sitting in our audience are brilliant. When they go and compete against other schools, they win. All they do is win, win, win.
That's a good thing. Absolutely. That is a good thing. Change the subject on you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yesterday was NASA Day on the Hill.
Yes.
Someone spoke about the computing power that we have in these things. That when we went to the moon in 1969 and landed up there, that our phones today have more computing power than the actual
computer on Apollo.
Yeah, that the Apollo missions had in it. And then that's the technology that has grown out of going to the moon, going to space, how to do things better, faster, communicate, make course changes as you travel in deep space.
I went out to Apple, and Apple was showing us these smartphones and gave us an example. It told us that we use less than 1%. The average person use less than 1% of the ability of that phone and its technological means of being used.
Yeah, I know it's a lot smarter than I am.
Way smarter than me. You talking about a 5th grader, just the phone by itself smarter than me. But serious, we don't utilize it because most of us get comfortable on some Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We go to those apps to do things when it could do a whole lot more.
Probably there's a place in there that can do all of them for you.
Exactly.
All you do is enter it once, but
that's all that's it. And so we get to this point to where we people like Mr. Haynes. Like Mr. Haynes here. He's on the Alabama Board of Trustees for the deaf and blind. There's a school for the kids of deaf and blind.
Right.
And so he's gonna have to make decisions based on technology, whether or not, Braille may be something different today than what Braille used to be. The ability to hear the sounds, the technology is catching up for that child who thought that they could be deaf for the rest of their life because of technology. They may be able to get a buzzing sound now.
Or better than that, may actually learn to hear.
Exactly. These kids in this audience have never heard a dial tone in their life.
Hadn't thought about that.
Really?
That's right.
They wouldn't know what a dial tone. If they picked up a phone and they go bing in their ear, they'd be ready.
They think
send
it's
the phone
broken.
back.
Yeah, send it back. It's broken.
It broke. But when we picked up the phone, we got you got a dial tone, and you had to roll that. You had to do a rotary phone.
The rotary phone.
Yeah, rotary phone. I remember, my grandmama got one on the wall that had the push button. Oh man, we thought we were doing something then, but we had a push button phone. We ain't had to dial it around. We just hit the numbers. But I saw it was something on this phone where they had these kids and they had an old rotary phone and they gave the kids the number and told them to dial that number.
Didn't know how to do it.
They were like, they gave them same 7 numbers that you dial on your phone and said, call this person on this phone right here. They didn't know how to do it. But they ain't supposed to because technology has changed. Time has changed. This wasn't their era. This is our era that we grew up in, and that was our technology at the time. And it has advanced so much that they shouldn't know anything about that. They should know.
Well, it's made life a little easier for everybody. It helps everybody. It
Yes.
makes life a little easier for all. Don't want to have to try to remember or wait for the rotary to go back
Exactly.
around, especially if you dial to 9, right?
Exactly. And even, you're right. And some of them you had to dial 9. I remember growing up, we used to have party lines.
Right, yeah.
You had to wait till your neighbor get off the phone before you could talk on the phone. You would pick up your phone and you would hear your neighbor talking, and then you had to say, excuse me, y'all, put your phone down. And you had to wait till they go, you go out there, will y'all let us use the phone?
That's right, we did.
We had party lines.
Party lines.
Party lines.
Very prominent in rural Alabama.
That's all we had.
So you didn't have an option.
You didn't have an option. You did not have an option. But technology has brought us to this point. Not only do we have an option, but we can carry our phone with us.
Isn't that, remember the first big bag phone that you had?
Yes, I had one of those too. Big bag phone, antenna this long, but those were some of the most powerful phones that there were.
They did have good coverage, didn't they?
You didn't have to worry about no static and all of that stuff. That phone would get out there because it was a military style phone. Whatever technology we get, the government has already had it 20 years before we get it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay?
That's probably true.
They've always had these phones.
Especially the military.
Especially the military.
And I'm thankful they do.
They get to test all the cool stuff out first.
I'm thankful they do.
I'm not mad, but so am I. Because by the time it gets to us, it becomes a perfected product. By the time they turn it loose to the private sector and allow the private sector to get a patent on it, then we at least get more minds and thinking and how people develop the chips that go on inside, develop that motherboard. And that's what we want to train these kids to do. To be able to have that technology and not just only work on the technology, but to build it.
We need to
Be inventors.
We need to get some of these chip manufacturers back in the States.
Get them back in the state instead of us buying all the chips from China.
That's exactly right. And other things too. So
Then we have to worry about the spy because we build our own chips.
build our own chips. We fly our own weather balloons over China if we want.
Exactly. Then we shoot us a weather balloon over them.
Yeah.
Let them shoot it down.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would real quickly.
Yes. And so, we go through this process and A lot of times people come in this audience and they see us do this and they say, well, they just down there wasting taxpayer money. But while we're sitting here, I'm looking at 2, 3, 4 people,
Behind you.
groups over here, cutting the deal, making something happen. Here's a group over here talking about some bills, trying to make something happen. There's another group over there trying to talk about doing something, trying to make something happen.
Senator, we're not getting left out, are we, while we're up here?
Huh?
We're not getting left out while we're up here, are we?
Well, you know the deal, some of us don't make the deal cutting committee, you know?
Yeah,
But some of us have to hold these mics until the deal get cut.
that's right.
And we find ourselves doing that. That's where I am right now. My being up here is because I have a colleague that wanted to go and talk to somebody while they try to work something out to hold this process until they get back. And you knew that.
Yes.
I know that. So there's sometimes this is staged and we do what we do because we're all on one accord. And then there's just sometimes this just happen out the blue and then we were around here wondering what's wrong with him.
And we do this for our own colleagues.
Exactly.
Because we may be heading to a little bit of a clinch point that we need to go sit down back here and have a conversation in Secretary Harris's conference room, make sure we can work this little issue out before we get out here and end up at this,
Exactly.
in this debate out here.
Exactly.
Haven't worked out.
So I was telling them today that happens down here on the floor, that when they got out here, this is what they will see. You know, the decorum that we have, but things are going to get done, and they will be done. You know, of the 2,000 to 3,000 bills that are introduced a year, we hear less than 10% of it.
Right. Pass very few of them.
And we try to pull out the best ones that are there that are going to benefit the people of the state of Alabama. We got to do that. And that's why you stand there as a Republican, I stand here as a Democrat, but we both are Alabamians, and we do what's best for the state of Alabama.
And Senator, it's just as important that some of these bills that we see don't get passed because they're not good things for.
They're not good things to pass. They're not good for Alabama.
That's right.
It don't matter.
Just as important as passing one.
Exactly. You know, we don't just pass stuff just to be passing it, and we become a bill factory. We're a deliberative body up here.
Very deliberative.
And we're going to talk through it, and we're going to go through it, and we're going to amend it, and we're going to substitute it, and we're going to do all the things that we can. And we might talk hours on a bill just until we can get it right.
That's the process.
That's the process. So that's why we're talking on Mr. Haynes. We want to make sure it's right. We've gone through the process.
Well, Mr. Haynes is right. We know that.
He's right.
It's another one we're working on the back.
He's right. He's right. You're right. Mr. Haynes is right. But it's part of the process. And sometimes, you know, some people just be a casualty of the moment, you know. We get caught up like that sometimes.
Yes, sir. It does happen.
You know, like the senator from Huntsville came up. He wanted to introduce a bill out of order. Well, somebody already objected to that. Now he's just a casualty at this point until we can get back to that process. He just got to wait. He just has to wait.
You have to wait till the rules.
And it will open up.
Yeah.
And you know how we do it up here, that channel will get so small and it will just start to clogging and bagging up. And then all of a sudden we'll come in with a Drano, boom. And we might do 200 bills tomorrow.
And that's because we've got a good leader that takes care of us.
You got a good leader.
Takes it, makes it work.
We do. We do. When it's time to move, it's time to move. And we need to spend a little quality time together sometime.
Absolutely. We need to hear
This session just starting good. What, we in our 7th legislative day?
We're on
8th legislative day?
Today, right? 8th legislative day today?
This is number 9.
9.
This is number 9.
Okay.
That's right. This sunset day.
My
This
goodness.
is number 9.
Almost over with, isn't it?
Yeah, this is number 9. Right. So there's some things in the rules that just gonna pop up that we can't control, like sunset.
Yeah.
Rules say they gotta pop up before the 10th legislative day. What we gonna do?
We're going to do sunsets.
We're gonna do sunset. Oh, we're gonna be in violation of the statute and the Constitution. You know? And maybe then we all might get expelled out here and get thrown out the door.
Could be, surely.
Lieutenant Governor might not want us in his house no more
I think we'll get them.
No, we want you here.
to get it done, right? Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the Lieutenant Governor who sits at this desk. We elect him as the Lieutenant Governor. The Lieutenant Governor primary job is to oversee the Senate of the state of Alabama. I call it, he calls the balls and the strikes. You know, he don't have voting power, but he still has a lot of power. He has the ability as to whether or not, you know, to call some up next or not. But at the end of the day, this is the legislative body. We control this body, and the Lieutenant Governor is the man who keeps the order going in this body. If we cut up, he can call security, put us out of here.
He has gavelled us down time or two.
He has gavelled us downtime too.
And Senator Singleton, I'll remind you that anytime I vote, I always win. It's to break a tie.
Oh Lord.
Right?
He does have a winning record. Undefeated. He's quite undefeated. The gentleman that's sitting over to my right, his left, is the Secretary of the Senate. Secretary of the Senate, he's the man that keep us going. He controls these hallways, this staff all back here, bill duplication. This is his staff along here. They make it work. That's what makes the Senate work. I'm trying to give my kids a lesson today, okay? They make it work.
And they're the folks that make the body work.
These are the people that make it work. Sometimes I feel sorry for them because we keep them here till late at night. But the work has to be done.
It's
And we get it done.
all part of the confirmation process. They need to understand how the process
All
works.
a part of the
It's
confirmation
germane.
process.
Right.
Yes. A little pain every now and then. Feel it.
Little pain.
A little pain. It don't hurt. You know, and so, you know, I thought I saw the senator back. The senator from Jefferson. Oh, they are still talking. How much time we have in my hour? I got 20 minutes? Good. I got a sermon I can preach in 20 minutes now.
You're doing a pretty good job. These folks are getting a good lesson on how the legislature works, so you're doing a good job.
I'm surprised at myself that I'm being able to. But I've been here 20 years.
You should know how it works yourself by now, right?
I should know how it works with blindfold on.
I think you do.
But you know, it's just a matter of when you're involved in the process, that's how you learn the rules. You don't just really get to understand the rule. You may read them and get to know them, but you don't get really to feel the rule until you get into the process. You get here at that mic, or you get as part of the process in meetings and what have you, and you calling on rules and you making people stay within the rules and the decorum. You got the rule call over here. You got the Lieutenant Governor that's gonna keep us within the rules. You got the Secretary of the Senate who's gonna call the rules and make sure the rules are right, and then make sure that we do things out here proper. We don't get away with nothing illegal out here. We don't do anything illegal.
That's true.
It's always gonna be done above board, and we're gonna be transparent about it.
I always remember early on when I was down here looking over and over here where Senator Albritton's sitting and Senator Holly was there, and I looked down there one day and Senator Dial sitting down by him, and they got the rule book out and they're going through the rule book, and they just knew something's fixing to happen, right?
Something's going to happen.
Might not be good, but something's fixing.
Yes. All they're doing is trying to sharpen their mind again on how to use it, and they're going to come to that mic and boom, hit you with it. They're going to hit you with it. I learned a lot of rules from Dow.
Absolutely.
Just watching him.
Mark, just watching is right.
Just watching him.
But you know, the rules are written. They're written for both sides. We get to use them. You get to use them, and that's what they're there for.
Exactly. And so, I wish we was on a specific bill that we could talk about a bill. We could be trying to add amendments, and they could really see the process on how that process works, and how we dispose of a bill and get a bill done, get it in, get it out. But at the end of the day, I think we'll just, this is a process that we have to go through because we have an order, and we're in the order of the day. And when that order comes up, we can only deal with those things in the order unless the rule chairman steps up to this mic and offer a committee report.
A report.
From rules.
Right.
Which then takes precedent over everything else. It takes precedent over the whole calendar at that time, and we got to deal with what the rule committee sits out. And so we do have a calendar that's going to come up.
Yeah. I think it involves sunsets, doesn't it?
It involves sunsets. Oh, let me change it right quick.
Sure.
Y'all know, members of the Senate, listen up, listen up. We play our baseball game next week, right? Do you not know that the House at 4 o'clock is out playing an exhibition game among themselves trying to get ready for us? Because we the champs.
And we're down here working.
And we here working. They out playing an exhibition game over at Alabama State right now, trying to get ready for us. And they got 1,000 players.
105 anyway.
No joke. So what they're doing, I think Leader Daniels was able to call a team in Stadhagen. Leader Stadhagen was able to call a team. So they divided members up between those two teams, and they're over at Alabama State. They started at 4 o'clock. I thought that we could have been in here and got out. I was going to want all of us to just go over there and sit down and watch them, make them nervous and get in their heads. Get in their head. Because they think they're over there doing something in private. Look at Anthony Daniel calling me now.
He's probably trying to recruit you.
We're going to beat y'all.
He's probably trying to recruit you.
Yeah, he's trying to recruit me to come over and play on their team.
Can't let that happen.
That's what he's doing.
Can't let that happen.
Yeah, we're talking about you all, Anthony. That we're gonna. I know y'all listen. If you ain't even from your office, you hear us now. And we're gonna beat the house again. So next week, gentlemen, y'all get ready. I want y'all to go home over this weekend and get prepared. Send your Epsom salt, rub your own muscle down, do whatever you got to do, and come back ready, so we can beat the house while they out practicing against us.
Well, you know, that works two ways. They could be too sore from a practice that they may not be able to play, or not maybe as effective as they have been. So.
I just want to say to y'all, I'm sorry, I cannot play with the Senate this year. I just got off a 10-day contract for $1 million. I'm sold. Thank you, sir.
Oh, wait.
But we play this exhibition softball game every year. The House play the Senate. And so we're going to play it next week. And so with that, you know, the House, like I told y'all earlier today, they got 105 members. We only have 35. So we're going to come up with a team. They're going to come up with 3 teams, and we still going to beat them. Yes, you can play. So we got cheerleaders over here. We got players. And I got my star player, my rule chairman, Mr. Wagner. You know, I got Jess. I got the lieutenant governor. I mean, we ain't worried about nothing, man.
Hey.
Alfred. You know what I'm saying? Marshall. We got them all.
Gonna bring in all the heavy hitters, right?
We bringing out the heavy hitter, baby. Even Smitty. He ain't got to coach basketball this time of year. He can get out there.
Yeah.
You playing third. He coaching. Tell me he coaching third.
Put him on the hot corner, right?
Yeah. I think I got about 15 minutes in this hour, man. I yield. Mr. President, I would like to yield to the gentleman from Jefferson without losing my time and place. Thank you, sir.
Senator Smithland, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's good to be back. Yeah, and I said it sincerely.
Hey.
I was blessed when the Lord said, I'm going to make you a senator.
That's
I was blessed.
Senator Singleton gets the award for the most entertainment today. It was good. Singing, all kind of stuff. It was good.
That's all right. Thank you, Senator. It's
Left you a high bar.
You know what? If I can only reach next to the bottom one, I'll hold on. You know, I'll hold on. Tell me about this, Senator. What this confirmation?
Clarence Haynes for the Alabama Institute for the Deaf and Blind.
Was that the man I was talking to?
Yes, that's the man.
That's my buddy.
He's your friend. He's
You know this man up
I think
here?
he's a former legislator. I think he's a friend of Secretary Harris's.
You hear what he said then? He said he and I walked in the door together 29 years ago.
29 years.
I mean, we were friends then and we are friends now. You saw him, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
He was just coming up to me, man. We were very good friends. We were very good friends at that time.
I think he's up in the gallery somewhere, but I haven't been able to find him yet, so.
You up there? Raise your hand. Where is it? I don't see him. But yeah,
There he is.
oh, he's up there.
Somebody held a hand up.
Okay. Yeah, it's you know, the School of Deaf and Blind. I want to say this, that they do miraculous things. I can remember. Take y'all back in a little history. I can remember back before integration that I played at a school called Prentice High School. And on our schedule, we played the deaf and blind team on a regular basis. They put something on us. They put something on us. Now, that was at their gym now. Yeah, we didn't lose at home. No, when I tell you about, you know, first I'm gonna tell you about this part is that I'm gonna shift back to Prentice. I coach elementary ball at a school called Epic. And I had 2 players on there that had come from the School of the Deaf and Blind. And we just developed our own signals as to what I wanted them to do. You know, when I wanted them to fast break, I do this now, by the way. And I'm telling y'all, when you see this, you're going to be familiar with this. When we played the softball game, last year I did, I hope they put me there again, I coached third base. And I got a towel. And when you come around second, when you see that towel go like this, don't stop at third. I'm doing you like this because I'm sending you on. You know, I'm gonna let you go. You know, so that's the way I would do her. She was my little point guard, and she'd be dribbling, and she'd look over there, and I do like this with that towel. She know that to take off, and she'd take it on in there and lay it on up. You know, in fact, we won the championship. We won the little elementary school championship, the little thing we were doing. We did well. But getting back to the other team I was talking about at Prentice, what I didn't tell you is that it was like a dream, because to imagine being the point guard and your center is 7 feet tall and your power forward is 6'11", and then your small forward is 6'6". Just imagine when you're a point guard, all you got to do is throw that stuff up in the air, and you're going to get assists. Just throw it up, you know. And I tell you how good the 7-footer was. He got drafted. Back then, you had like 6 or 7 rounds in the NBA. And he got drafted in the 3rd round by the New York Knicks. You know, but unfortunately for him, when Willis Reed elbowed him in the mouth a couple of times, he took the bonus and came on back home. So he didn't stay, you know, but I think that the School of Deaf and Blind, I think they do a good job. I think that what I didn't tell you all about the school at Epic is that Epic was our designated elementary school for kids with special needs. So I tell you, the beauty thing that I ever seen in my life was so pretty and was just sweet, was that I've seen this more than once, but I'm giving you one analysis. I saw 3 kids playing. I walked into school. Remember, I'm coaching there. So I'm coming into the school that evening, and I see 3 kids playing, and this is uniqueness. One kid was in a wheelchair. Another child was deaf. So they were playing, and their child was talking to them, you know, whatever they were saying, and the other 2 were talking back. And then evidently the one in the chair said something like this, and so the one that was deaf was getting ready to take out the right, you know, kind of like playing tag. and the other was in the wheelchair, and they kicked that thing in high gear. They were going down the hall, and they couldn't catch them, you know. But just to see little elementary kids who have disabilities that playing with each other as if nothing is wrong. I mean, which nothing is wrong. They just got to have a disability. But to see that was just so kind of touching to me, because kids don't think about stuff like that. They just think about it's another child and let's play. And I think that's the kind of atmosphere that I think they set up there at the school. They make it a very nice, wholesome atmosphere. They make it something that the kids look forward to coming. And I think that the board is going to be enhanced by having Mr. Haynes on the board. I think that the board will be enhanced. He's a good people person, from what I can tell. He's saying, you know, and that sensitivity will go a long ways with these young people who have special needs right now. So I think that's something that we can be proud of putting them on, you know, and I just commend you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing them up and for vetting them before the committee.
I'm really glad you had the opportunity to run into him in the hallway. I know that was good to see an old friendship come back together.
It is. It really is. I tell you. So I think a lot of that. You know, I was looking on here, and then I see where we have several of confirmations that we will eventually be able to address and get addressed. And while I'm talking, I'm gonna pose a little question for the secretary. He ain't got the answer. He'll hear it. That's why I get so upset, so he'll just hear it. I know he can't answer me from way up there, and I don't expect him to. But, you know, I'll also look on this agenda, and I saw, you know the word, my word now. I saw some prizes on here. Prizes, like a prize you win. Not surprise, prizes on here. I saw some sunset. Was that right? I think it's at the end. Isn't it about 4 or 5 sunset bills? I see it says sunset, or let they change it. It says something about sunset committee or sunset. Do I have the right one? Let me see. Yeah, the date of 12th. This is an old one on the 6th. Yeah, I see back here where it says, yeah, in fact, the whole back sheet is sunset. It's got sunset law, sunset law, sunset law, sunset law, sunset law. So, you know, I feel real good. That's what I'm just trying to say. That's just a nice little opportunity to learn more about these agencies and whatnot. So what I'm going to do, whenever we get to that point, I'm going to ask, I think we got some senators in here on sunset. I need y'all book. You know, y'all get that book with each one of these people. I was on Sunset too, yeah. Y'all get a little book. It talks about the different people. And no, it talks about the agency, the audit of the agencies. I need a copy of y'all audit. Okay, I need a copy of that so I can, you know, because I'm trying to do like I'm supposed to, stay Jermaine. So that's why I want a copy of those agencies.
Hey, Senator, y'all taking, you know, these sunsets have to be addressed by a certain legislative day, as you said earlier, and that's important. That's why they're on the calendar for tomorrow, and some on there for today, and we'll be working towards that. They went through Fred earlier this afternoon. Some of them did, and some changes, and I think some amendments made to them in committee today, which is might open some eyes to some folks about what's going on in committee and other places. So we're glad that we do have these students here today, or we had the students. Looks like they just have left us, so I'm sure they're trying to get back home for too late tonight. But it's a good learning lesson, and the senator did a really good job of reminding us about Sesame Street, and got quite the entertainer. So we enjoyed.
Senator Livingston like to recognize a special guest that just came to the House floor. Member of the House softball team, also the minority leader, Representative Anthony Daniels. Welcome to the Alabama Senate. Senator.
Hey, too much noise back there. Too much noise. I'm trying to talk. This ain't the house. Too much noise.
Senators, if y'all could lower your rhetoric, please.
So, and let me say this. I think he's up here trying to spy, see what the softball team look like. But yes, let me get back on this. Is that we had some pretty good confirmations for what I saw today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We
had
really
some-
did.
Some good folks.
We've had some pretty good people though overall. I'm just really serious when I say that. And I appreciate you having people here too. I mean, I really want to say that I appreciate the effort that you do in trying to provide that for us.
Again, we had a conversation about these folks here, and then we've got good staff back down the hall that take good care of us. And I would say I give her credit for having them all here. So she might sign my name to that letter, but that's okay. So.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. You're a smart man when you just said what you said, because I tell people that the best thing I can tell you about being a lawyer is that I know who really do the work. So I go in and position myself with the clerk.
Yeah.
And see, I used to stand about, really, if we was in here now, I'd be on your side. The clerk will be right there. Mm-hmm. And I stand about right where you are, a little further off, so that I be in the peripheral vision of the judge. When they turn to the clerk, they see me. So I be standing up, and usually if you're standing up, there you go. They say, well, you've earned the right for me to recognize you because you're not sitting down. You're working by standing up, laboring, and usually you get a chance to then get addressed. Not only like a trial, but like when you coming in, motions, or you trying to get some communications with the court. But the clerks want to actually run the court.
Yeah, they do.
I was a clerk in district court before I got to be a lawyer, in the presiding judge's court at that. And so I'm familiar with who actually do the work. And in the case in these offices, we know who do the work. That's staff. I mean, who really help us? That's staff. And I tell you, we have, in my personal opinion, we have one of the best staffs that you could have. I mean, all of them. It's not a lady. Let me tell you something. Our staff, I ain't gonna say lady because we got men. It's not a staff person down that hall. If I went down that hall right now and had a problem, wouldn't stop and help me.
Senator, you got about 30 seconds left.
Absolutely.
All right.
About 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right, just want to make sure you knew.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So with 30 seconds, Mr. Chairman,
Senator, yes,
I'm
sir.
going to yield back to you to go on and pass this one, and then
Alrighty.
we'll move.
All right, I think the motion was to call the long roll, correct?
Sir. Yes,
All right,
yes.
Secretary, call the long roll and confirmation.
Mr. Albritton. Mr. Allen. Mr. Barfoot. Mr. Beasley. Mr. Bell. Mr. Butler. Mr. Carnley. Mr. Chambliss. Mr. Chasteen. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman Madison. Mr. Elliott. Ms. Figures. Mr. Gavan. Mr. Gudger. Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Hovey. Mr. Jones. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Livingston. Mr. Melson. Mr. Orr. Mr. Price. Mr. Reed. Mr. Roberts. Mr. Schofield. Mr. Sessions. Mr. Shellnut. Mr. Singleton. Mr. Smitherman. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stutz. Mr. Wagner. Ms. Weaver. Mr. Williams.
Thirty-two ayes, 0 nays. Clarence Haynes is confirmed. Secretary Caldwell. Oh,
Mr. President.
Senator Orr.
I would move for unanimous consent to offer bills anytime during the legislative day today.
I did. Yeah. Any objection?
Good.
Hearing none, so ordered.
What that is?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Raise your hand, raise-
I'm sorry, were you objecting? Yeah. All right. All right, Secretary Caldwell, next conferee.
From the Committee on Confirmation, Senate Confirmation number 30, appointing Ben Gay to the State Course of Study Committee Science, receives a favorable report by a vote of 14 ayes and 0 nays.
Mr. President,
Senator Livingston.
Mr. President, I'd move we confirm Ben Gay by using previous role if there's no objection.
All right, any objection?
Hey,
All right, you want to be recognized to speak on this? You're recognized.
Oh, yeah. A study course, a state course of study commission, science. I need to poll everybody in here. How many of them were good in science? Raise your little hand. I don't see no hands going up.
you talking about stealing base sign?
I remember that science. You know what to do. You remember, funny when you think about things and remember things in school. One of the things I remember about science were the planets. Remember the solar system and the planets? I remember, and the one that sticks out the most to me is Saturn. With the rings around it.
Right, yeah.
I remember Saturn. Yeah. And then we got Mars, Pluto, Jupiter. This is what I wonder. I just wonder how, thank you, you know you will, how far the endless of time, distance that's out there. Just think about the endlessness. We'll never know as people, directly. Now, let me say this. You're going to find out one direction or the other. You've been good. You may go on up and go on out there where I'm talking about exists. Out there, way out there. But if you bad, you just going to go down. And you're going to reach some fire down there. And so I equate that you're going to go down in the earth where that molten rock is and that lava.
That's a,
And that's where you're going to be, down there where the heat is.
yesterday was NASA Day on the Hill, and we talked a little bit about NASA earlier today, but in a couple of years, we're going to be going back to the moon, and we're going to launch from the moon to going towards Mars in a few years. And they're in the process now building a device to collect some of the Martian soil and bring it back here to see what kind of elements are there, what may be there that we can sustain life on in the future. The Artemis program is part of that. They had to launch back in November, so.
Mr. President, I would like to yield without losing my time and place to Senator Singleton, if the president will allow me.
Senator Singleton?
Yes.
Hey, I have an update on the House practice for you.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Would you please
7
give us an
p.m.
update? 7 p.m. We can still get in their heads.
We might could go over there and scout them out.
Yes,
Look.
yes. Thank you, Mr. President. You were saying, Mr. Ben Gay, is this the rubber man green man?
That same name. Same name. I'm sure he's heard that all his life.
Is this the soul muscle man that they're gonna need?
That they gonna need.
They need us to go and confirm Mr. Ben Gay so they can get rubbed up.
That's it.
Or do we need Mr. Ben Gay?
Well, we probably gonna need some on both sides.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, we had one of our colleagues turn into a bowling ball last year at home plate.
Sure did. Sure did.
Let's spell Ben. B-E-E-N.
B-E, oh, boy, you crazy. You been, oh, boy, you crazy. Look, I don't want to say it like that. Anyway, I think Mr. Gay, looking at his resume, is more than qualified to stay on this state course of study committee on science. That's a real interesting committee to be on because, you know, we can't find good science teachers, you know, in the area. Science and math, it's kind of hard.
We're doing some special things to try to recruit those guys into their areas of need, correct?
Right, correct. So we're gonna need guys like this to be able to design good study courses, you know, for our children to be able to do what they need to do in our school systems, you know.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah, and all of that is gonna be a part of the process that Mr. Gay and his other colleagues on that board gonna have to do is to make sure that these children are getting the proper textbooks, making sure that they are up to date with the current scientific studies that are out there, and plus some of those that are old because that stuff never goes away. And, you know, 1 + 1 is always gonna be 2. You know, the fact that, you know, you got all the elements of science and earth and how it evolves and why some people may believe in the creation, some people believe, you know, in evolution, and you got all kinds of things around. Science is something that's not absolute, so it's always fluid. It always have an ever-changing, you know, a flow to it. Because even today, you may come back and the science may say, it's 20% of the people who are going to catch the flu over here. Well, tomorrow, something may come up, and it may be 50%. You know, you can be saying, well, y'all just said 20% yesterday, but science is always changing. It's forever fluid.
That's true.
It's not absolute, and that's why we can always find solutions to things because it does change. Because sometimes you can mix it with a little water and you can get a different results. Then you mix it with a little Kool-Aid and you get a whole different results. You know, so that's why science is always fluid, and that was really interesting. You know, during the pandemic. You had, what is his name, Dr. Fauci? What is his name?
Fauci.
Who came on TV and spoke a lot. And there were a lot of people saying, oh, you can't believe nothing he said because it's always changing. But it was science. The science was changing.
Oh, we were learning so much.
We were learning so much about it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And the studies that they were doing told us that it would be effective in this body or that body, people of this age, underlying diseases that would hurt the people who did this and that. And people were getting confused and were thinking that, oh, they don't know what they talk about. They just told us yesterday this, but that's just science. Science is not absolute.
Not an exact art, is it?
It's not absolute. It's always ever flowing, and it's going to change. That's why we are able to cure diseases, because of the ever flowing of science and how things work. How when one doctor can look up under a microscope and see a paramecium that is moving in a direction, and he goes in and pull out, you know, and grab in and claw the cell and wrap around it. And then the next doctor may look at it where the cell may have split. And now you got 3 parameciums in a cell.
You know what?
That's science. That's science, you know? and all of them be, and all the cells are males and not females, but they end up with 3. It's science. It's not absolute. Mr. President, I would like to yield back to the gentleman from Jefferson without losing any of my time and place back. Well, his time and place, and give him his time and place back.
All right, Senator Smitherman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just say this, Mr. Chairman. It's good that we are on the science. I think I figured out how I was hoping we get on one of these. I couldn't do it on the School of Deaf and Blind because I couldn't figure out just how, even though the desk is being very liberal with, the germaneness, and I'm very appreciative and thank you. But sometimes I still try to make sure that I do it, you know what I mean? So under this one, I can do it because it's science. And science has a direct connection to water, to the elements in it,
Yep.
to the chemical changes and the breakdown of the molecules and those kind of things. Now, having said that, we still having a little problem that we have. Well, I have this representative from Jefferson County that I will not call his name, who has this fixation on taking our water. And they had a little hearing, and you wouldn't let the people talk, wouldn't let them talk at all. That folk that drove 84 miles one way, and was not even, who came down at 12 o'clock. The meeting wasn't until 3 o'clock. Who was sitting in the room when the chairman and the members came in, who they would not let stand up and talk. They cherry picked who they wanted to talk. I've never heard anybody tell somebody you only have 2 minutes. By the time you introduce your name and breathe 3 times, 2 minutes is gone.
2 minutes is over.
Now I realize you may have to put 5 on there, even 3, but 2, and so I was very disappointed because it was almost like it was a setup. It was almost like it was set up a certain way, not to allow people to speak. We had the chairman of the board. We had the board of the waterworks to come down. We had the executive director to come down. We had the Birmingham City Council to come down. And we had a variety of other citizens to come down. And yet, that particular chairman would not even acknowledge them to give them an opportunity to say anything. There was no basis whatsoever. And so I just tell you that I think that it's a travesty. I don't know how many of you all saw the movie, but it's a movie, and they had a second series out with it, and it's called Taking. Anybody seen that movie, Taking? You saw it then. Yeah, you saw it. They had 2 versions. Second version to me wasn't quite as good as the first version, but I had a chance to see it. And in the same way that you saw them follow them people around and come in there and take them, that's the same thing I saw trying to be going on downstairs, trying to take our water. Just take it. Take it. I mean, and I have an analysis, and I want everybody to listen at this analysis. If I come to your house Friday, I can't say Thursday because you down here with me, and I come up to your house, and I have one of them master keys, and I walk up in your yard and in your driveway, and you have a Tahoe sitting up in there, pretty out Tahoe, or Expedition, or Explorer, and I walk into your yard, and put the key in your SUV and drive off with it, would you think that was right? You ain't know I go get you, it belonged to you, and I just take your car. Before I could get out your driveway, you either be shooting at me, I see some shooting hands, or the police will be waiting on me. I try to come out, whichever that way that is, I came in. That's right. This is no different. It's the same taking as I will be taking your vehicle. And there's nothing right about me taking your vehicle. So there's nothing right about taking something from the city of Birmingham, just taking it. And that's what we're dealing with. And effort. The thing that's encouraging to me is that it has not been lost on the element of right and wrong. And I'm very appreciative of that. Because I even talked to some people downstairs, and they said, ain't nothing right about that. Ain't nothing right about it. Nothing. And so that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with that. And as a result of that, we are so as a result of that, we find ourselves where we find ourselves. And it really, there's no making, but, few people they've been trying, no matter what we do, the only thing that satisfies them is just taking the system. See, when people, let me tell you something, when people come up and give you reasons, it's kind of like when people got COVID. One of the things that I would tell people, and the people that I know that listen to what I said, told me that it got a positive result, and that was this. What you do, you treat the symptoms. I know it's separate that you got to get this for COVID itself, but if you have congestion, listen to the way I'm going to say it like this. You go into the drugstore and buy you some Expectrin, loosen it up, bring it up. Now you say, well, how is this going to help with COVID? It's going to help because your immune system won't have so much weight on it because it's getting help with that portion, okay? And it allows your body to what I call mount up more troops. I call your cells and all that troops in your body. To mount up more troops to actually encase the COVID. Because it's tacking just like this. Everything is tacking just like that. Say what now?
Opens up a battleground.
That's right. That's right. It opens it up. And so that's what I'm saying about the symptoms. Now, in the case of the water, the executive director got up and talked about the strategic plan. They talked about how they've been able to replace pipe. We got pipe 100 years old. That old cast iron stuff, they're getting brittle. And so they're replacing it at the rate of 13 miles with the pipe. That's a lot of money and a lot of pipe. And I didn't know this, but it's probably one of the largest systems in the country. Our system is one of them, not the largest.
Didn't realize that a lot of the other cities around are probably gobbled up a little bit by their own water authorities, right?
That's right. And then our water right now is rated one of the best in the country. I think we're like number 2 or number 3. And in fact, we had that, what do you call that stuff in for your teeth? Fluoride? Fluoride, yeah. We have that in our water. Make your teeth better and everything. So every time you drink a bottle, a glass of water. So what I do, look, when you're at home, because our water is so good, that I get one of them bottles, you know, like you go buy a bottle of water.
Yeah.
And I save the bottle. There you go.
Keep reusing it.
Fill it up, put it in the refrigerator. You know, because in fact, we have a person that's out there in the hall now who motivated me to start drinking water at the level I do, because they said when they wake up in the morning, they have a big cup sitting right there, and that's the first thing they do to get themselves some water and to move that out, you know. And so, you know, I've started drinking a lot of water now myself. You know, even when I go to my room, you know, I'm gonna have me a couple bottles of water that I take with me. You know, a lot of folks go get these soda pops. I like soda pops, but let me tell you something. You remember I was saying about the preventive on the COVID?
Yep.
It's the same thing with your body. You want to flush your liver out, you want to flush your kidneys out, and you have to do that with water. So that helps you be stronger, and it helps preserve your body. You know, that's the kind of stuff science does. You know, and so I think that this is good. Now, I wonder what level do they address? Do we have a separate group for middle school science?
I do believe it was actually on the actual confirmation itself, but I believe it is. And I for some reason, I remember this being 4th, 5th, 6th grade area.
Okay. Well,
And it's important to have good folks on that committee at that level, because that's a tough time in a young man or a young woman's life. They're being challenged by some other outside activities, and they need to be able to keep their interest at that point in time.
Yeah. Well, you're right about that. That's the gateway to middle school, right in there. And I'm gonna tell you something. From that 5th grade through the 8th grade, it was a rough time. Kids growing up, little hormones changing, their behavior changing. I'm gonna say the right way, and I'm gonna say what my folks said. The right way is that they begin to think that they're grown. The way that my folks used to say it is that they smelling themselves.
Smelling themselves. You know,
Whatever they smelling themselves.
They do get distracted by the fumes of the perfume and the gasoline fumes, so
That's what I'm talking about.
distracted.
Oh, yeah. And so, you know, that's a tough time right now. And you really have to be on top of it. And I'm experiencing that right now. Because I got a grandson that's in the 7th grade. So that's what I'm telling you. That you know, of course, this is not my first rodeo. You know, because I got five other grandkids that are older than this one.
Okay.
So I've kind of been through that. I got one in the 10th. Got, you know, one that graduated, another one in college, another one finished school that's, you know, got a business, and then one who was working. I got one more semester in college. So I've been through that phase with all of them, and I know that it exists, you know. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna tell you about me. I was one of them kind of kids that I go to the store and buy one of them science kits. You remember them?
Yeah, absolutely.
It had the little tubes in it.
Chemistry sets.
That's it. I buy me one. One time I almost blew up the kitchen.
Better catch the curtains on fire.
We had the little tube, and one time I had it so hot, I tube cracked. You know, but I had my stuff in there, and some kind of way I can remember. I don't know what I did with it, but I had that liquid mercury. You remember that liquid mercury?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I had that liquid mercury, and I ran some experiment with it, and then one time I built what's called a volcano. That's what I like to mess up. Except it wasn't the kind that just did like that. I wasn't satisfied with that. I wanted to put some more fluid in there. And when I lit that thing, it didn't light up. It did just like this. It said, whoo. And I jumped back, and it was on, you know, but I didn't burn up the house.
Didn't catch the fire.
House didn't catch a fire. But I had a lot of cleaning to do. I put some elbow grease on it.
I bet Mama was really on that, wasn't she?
She changed and she bought me what you call them little microscopes and telescopes.
Yeah.
She flipped from that and bought me them.
Took the chemistry set back.
Yeah, I got me some of them scopes. And so you know, you don't have the most powerful one being a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 levels. Man, I was out there looking at the stars, moons and things. You know, I thought one time that I wanted to be a scientist. You know how you think as you're growing up what you want to do. I thought I wanted to do that. But I'll tell you what changed my mind. I like to interact with people too much. See, I didn't want to be back in some lab, you know, and coming up and going there. See, I understand what they do, and I didn't want to have to say, like, if you grow in a culture or something, and you have to go in there and stay in there about 10 minutes, and then
You didn't let me pass it. You won't pass it. Just go ahead. Poor Peter. We've seen the pictures be made. No. So I had the lobbyist last week. So,
you know, let me tell you something. When you see the pro tem kind of easing close to the mic, you know something finna happen.
I think
You don't know what it is.
I think you want
You know, I can
microphone.
tell you that. Something finna happen. I just don't know quite what this is. But you know, I see him at the mic and.
Mr. President,
Pro Tem, you recognize.
Mr. President. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Pro Tem, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like to move final passage for this particular confirmation. Mr. Gay,
Would you like to use previous role?
previous role. Yes, sir.
Am I on that roll? Huh? Okay.
All right, any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Mr. Albritton, Mr. Williams,
Thank you, sir.
32 ayes, 0 nays. Ben Gay. All right,
President,
Senator Reed.
thank you, Mr. President. Calhoun County wishes to be recognized.
All right, Senator Kelly.
Mr. President,
memorial service.
All right, so that's all right. Any objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Secretary read and receive the resolution. First, we got to get him to read it, then we'll adopt it.
Senate Joint Resolution number 34 by Senator Kelly, mourning the deaths of Mark Gann and Samuel Adam Russell.
All right, Senator Kelly.
I move for immediate, or for unanimous consent based on the previous roll.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right, resolution's adopted.
Thank you, sir.
All right, do you have another one, or is it just one?
Just one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Senator Reed. Real quick, I want to make, before you get going, I need to make a quick announcement. Make sure everybody in this chamber knows tomorrow we've got a joint session for Military Appreciation Day that will be 11:30 in the House chamber. That's for tomorrow. Make sure everybody a reminder of that. So.
Mr. President,
These two, Price. Senator Reed.
Mr. President, I think we want to recognize Senator Butler.
Um,
Mr. President,
Senator Butler.
I'd like to ask the chair if it could call up House Joint Resolution 37, which is in the basket by Representative Witt, commendatory. It's a House Joint Resolution. It's in the basket.
The House message.
All right, we'll do that tomorrow.
Senator, I think you thought it had come from the House.
What is the?
We'll work on it tomorrow, Senator.
Senator Reed, let me get these three bills real quick in.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Reed.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your efforts and your hard work today. We had a lot of committee effort and a lot of work go on, and I'm appreciative certainly always. I'm going to make a motion now that we stand adjourned until 9:30 a.m. in the morning, leaving the Journal open for these House messages.
All right, you heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. President.